about. The biggest,
because it is guaranteed the group wins if KT wins.
Yeah. The biggest disaster for HLE would be a 5-gamer and Nongshim clutch it out in the last game. That is just horror story. Because that means that if Gen.G manages to get 3-0 over HLE, which smart money might be on, then HLE are the team that are exiting the tournament. And that is absolutely ridiculous. To think about our first stand defending champions would not even be getting to the play-in stage, Wolf. Yeah, it's ludicrous. The only team eliminated in groups. There's only one team that's eliminated in groups.
That would be just so strange, considering the powerhouse that roster is.
Yep.
Speaking of powerhouses, these two rosters, we are going to see, I think, Kingan's Rumble taken away every single game. I do not think he will get his hands on it a single time in this best of 5.
Yep, not to mention the fact that Perfect loves the champion as well, so it's going to be banned on either side, depending on who has first pick. Ryder first selection did go to Nongshim Red Force. They did choose first pick, so they'll be on the red side. KT deciding that they want blue, and Orianna is going to be decided to be banned. There it is.
If you wanted to play Orianna, I think you want to have first pick if you were going to try to grab that, so they do ban it here. If we're going to trade Ryze Taliyah, Scout prefers the Taliyah side of that one, I would say. And so maybe BD would take it away, but the Ryze has looked so much better. And I just think that BDD is more proficient at both of these champions right now. So if you're going to play that trade game with this Azir ban Nongshim Red Force, you're going to have to be prepared to potentially face the consequences.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at right now. We'll see. There could be also a Vi lock-in. Oh, Yunara is so dangerous to lock blind, because now it could just be Taliyah Vi, which we've seen be absolutely fantastic. This is BDD and Cuz, Taliyah Vi. Like, that is terrifying.
Taliyah Pantheon, which is pretty good as well.
Yeah, good point. The thing is, like, Vi makes Yunara's life so difficult.
And she has just really struggled in this tournament thus far, even though she's been really high prio. And it's no surprise BDD wants this, because they have the Taliyah Vi set up, and they have...
Who would have guessed?
Like, it's Scout's better champion of the two, right, in terms of his performances this tournament. I think this is kind of... It feels like a pretty face-up error here in terms of how the first pick was utilized, and you're putting all your eggs in the Taeyun basket if you are Nongshim Red Force here. So let's see how they round the rest of this draft out, but... Lehends' performances also haven't been that consistent in the bottom 2v2 in a very volatile matchup they'll probably be playing into. At least they know with Taliyah Vi going over, they're going to be facing a strong counter lane, because there's only one pick left here in the first rotation, so they can protect this lane a little bit. And the Ryze has to fit this third spot.
Yep, it does mean that they have the double global. This is nice.
Meta, I feel, really has been solved this week. Like, we know everything that's going to happen when you see those bans. Like, yeah, I know how this trade goes. What a surprise we'd see the Ambessa, which is not only a strong pick here for Perfect, one of his best, but also a pick that you will love to take away from Fearless if you're not planning to run the Lulu later on in this draft, or you can even force a ban of Lulu in this draft. Like,
I mean, they want to ban it themselves. The thing is, like, you ban Gwen Lulu, and you are absolutely off to the races as KT right now. It's kind of scary what has happened. I understand Nongshim's champions that you see here on the screen look great, but I don't know. The Renekton going to be the first one taken away, so just making sure that this top lane matchup is going to be the most comfortable. Perfect may not actually elect for the Gwen ban. There's only a few players that really do like the Gwen into Ambessa. It is quite playable for the Ambessa a lot of the time. We'll just have to see exactly where they decide to go for that final ban, because like you were saying, I think Lulu is a big one here for Nongshim.
The power budget of both of these drafts right now is insanely high, because we're looking at really S-tier picks across the board. So, you know, we talked about what happens when we get to game 3, 4, 5 in Fearless. That type of drafting might come early. We're really getting all the heavy hitters out here in our very first game, as the Aphelios will be taken away here from aiming. Did not expect that. I expected to see something a little bit more aggressively, you know, a strong 2v2 lane that aggressively punishes. Aphelios Lulu could be a problem they would have ran into. The Aphelios scales really well, so that kind of makes sense.
Does mean that they're not likely to pick away the Lulu as well. There haven't been very many bans on any of the supports. Like Nico, for example, is still up and available. So it might be that KT just think, well, there's plenty of stuff that we can play. We don't really mind if the Lulu is picked up, but I do think Lulu is so scary.
I think they just get the Lulu here, and they're happy to play so many different lanes with the Lulu. Isn't a great counter. Bard is up, though, and so is, you know, the Karma, if they wanted to try to run that for example, Nico is also available. So isn't this the free win Lulu lane? I don't think you want Lehens to get his hands on it, though. They will opt for the Corki. And so they're saying, if you pick Lulu, we'll take Nico. I suppose that is going to be the game plan here for KT Rolster. And it is a very powerful mid-game composition that has both pick, but also follow-up and burst.
You were talking about power budget. Like, man, we are sticking to the top of the tier list when it comes to these champions.
Top tier picks only allowed. So Lulu or Nico?
Yeah. Those are the ones.
Nico.
Nico's the decision. And I think picking it away from the Corki Nico lane makes a whole lot of sense. It's a very, very scary combination.
The scary thing is that I feel like Lulu pairs way better with KT's composition, and even though Corki Lulu isn't really a strong pairing, and it's not like one that we see all the time, in fact, I don't think we've even seen it once, I still think it kind of works here, and you can empower the Vi or the Ambessa, and you can keep the Corki, who's already relatively safe, in an even stronger position, as it will be the Aatrox here.
Ooh.
As the counter pick
the
for
King
the
and
top
Aatrox
lane.
as well. I mean, he's got a pretty cool skin on that champion, so I don't mind that as a lock-in.
Will not like as much, I was going to say, you know, potentially the Nautilus, but they could have gone for the Nami, which I really wouldn't have liked that much in this draft at all. They decided to just go for more single target point and click. This is the kill Taeyun composition. If Taeyun is picked off in these team fights, it gets a lot harder to play out, but at least they have the backup of the Rise. You know, Scout is going to be able to offer a lot of damage on 3 items later on. This composition's late game is crazy with the Aatrox that's basically unkillable, the Pantheon that can get backline access and impact side lanes, as well as the Nico Pop Blossom engage angles. Does feel pretty good. I just don't see how you get to a point where that scaling really comes online before KT Rolster's composition just bowls you over with very simple execution.
The thing about KT's composition is that you know exactly how it's supposed to play at almost every stage of the game, right? And a lot of it comes down to kill Taeyun with your Nautilus or your Vi, depending on which one's there. Press your R button on said champion, kill said champion, things become a whole lot easier. Then you move on to killing Scout, all that sort of stuff. So I think if Kingin gets a little bit out of control, if this Pantheon becomes too strong, we know that Sponge has been fantastic at playing the Pantheon. If the other tools in this composition do get powerful, that's when things can get a little bit rough here for KT. But they can definitely stop this Yunara from doing anything at all. So the rest of the team gonna have to pick up the slack. Let's get onto the Rift for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1 of our Super Week Hump Day. KT versus Nongshim, 3rd versus 3rd. And if you're playing at home and you're wondering whether the cursed timeline is still possible, it is. Humble Life Esports could be eliminated from the tournament as the very first team that are going to exit if KT loses in 2-3 fashion. That is basically how it kind of goes.
Yeah.
That will mean that KT goes down to -3, and there is the possibility for HLE to reach -4 with a 0-3 loss. That's how it goes. And that would be hilarious and also a little bit sad because, you know, Humble Life Esports are a pretty fun team with a lot of very good players on it. So them being eliminated would be weird.
They really just did not perform early, and to try to dig themselves out of the hole now, they have to beat Genji. So that's the strength of schedule that kind of was pretty good for them. That is actually, because they failed at it, feeling really bad at the end.
At least they only need to beat Genji like once or twice in a series. You know, and Genji have lost games, you know? They're not normally like a 3-0-y team. He says, looking at the thing that says that Genji are 4-0, 2 zeros the whole way.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah. So they haven't done it yet. They're saving it, though. They're saving their ability to beat Genji until later on. Surely,
I love how this whole early game is just Hanwha catching strays. But
I mean, that's a lot of what we're playing for here today, because both, I mean, KT obviously also circling the drain if Group Elder is not able to get the victory. They have their own fate in their hands right now, though, because if KT wins, none of this is a problem. Yep. HLE's getting through. The Bros are unfortunately just going to, you know, give us a salute and exit. And then that is going to be that, because the Bros 0 and 5, there is no one that will be doing more losing than them.
Yeah, it's the Giga Chad bro, like, right on through, gentlemen
off
of my
into the
team.
sunset. They're already halfway off into the sunset right now.
I do think that, take a look at that Corki Yunara matchup stat. It is very strongly in favor of the Corki. This has been a response pick into the Yunara so often, even going as far back as last year. So I don't think that should come as a surprise to anyone.
Yep.
And the fact that they picked the Nautilus is not going to help them win this lane, but it is certainly going to give them one more point-and-click button to kill the Yunara later on in the game, or the Corki can follow up with his Valkyrie really easily. And there is not really a front line outside of some of the, the Pantheon, the Pop Blossom can be used as peel. It's all about Taeyun's positioning. He cannot get caught. He has to be cleanup only, basically. He cannot be front line, cannot be trying to chip away at the Ambessa, or he is just going to be taken apart by lots of ultimates.
Yes. It's just a very difficult game to play. If you are Yunara, you also just like when you press your ultimate and you have your dash, you have to then worry about tripping on rocks and things like this. It's just a little bit problematic.
When the Nautilus presses R on you, it becomes very difficult to outplay the shove and the Ambessa ultimate.
Yeah, good old outplaying a depth charge just isn't anything that's really possible. As aiming might just be dead. That would be good for Nongshim, as this cannon will just go to the wayside. And so KT having a little bit of trouble here towards his bottom side. Yeah, you mentioned that the Nautilus wasn't going to do a whole lot. I can see it not doing a whole lot.
That's why I'm mentioning all this, because if you look at this, you might be thinking, it's so dumb that they picked this Nautilus. And I don't, fully disagree with that. I mean, I think it's not dumb, but it is certainly a very risky choice that has a huge trade-off here. It's just what happens in team fights, which is going to be where you start to call worth for it. I would have rather myself seen a ranged champion. Even the Bard could have, set up Talia. Like, they had a lot of different options here, and they already have the Vi set up, right? So I don't know if they really needed one more point and click, but they ultimately decided to go with it anyways. Yeah. And it is one of Lehend's better picks right now, so he can't use it for the rest of the best of 5. There's other reasons, but it is coming at a hefty cost in the laning phase. As you can see already, over a kill's worth of gold to Taeyun in the lead.
Yeah, and that's a whole wave that just went to the wayside there. I don't even think Polo was anywhere near the wave in order to get experience. He was trying to stop some backs. And so therefore, that whole wave not really doing too much of anything at all. Aiming does make it back and will be able to get this wave shoved in and might be able to deny a couple of CS, but otherwise I think Taeyun's going to be able to preserve this advantage quite comfortably. And we'll have to see whether KT can sort of bounce back. As Kingen misses a cannon, we get the zoom in thanks to Jonas Strong. And yeah, it's a little bit of a problematic situation there. But that's cannons missed on both sides of the rift.
Now, the bottom lane could also be called the Babysitter's Club, as we do have both junglers here as well.
Well, there's this shape splitter getting hooked here by Polo, looking for a little bit of an angle as the dash forward comes in from Cuz, gets his shield as in comes PDD, finds the shove onto Sponge, but he's pulled back potentially into range as there's the Glacial Prison, and Cuz is going to get taken down. Taeyun picks up first blood. It's a disaster for KT.
KT did not have their AD carry in a favorable position to follow up on the setup at all. So maybe like they forgot to kind of look behind and check. You know when you have like a cat or a dog following you, or you're walking with somebody but they're kind of on their phone, you kind of look over your shoulder to make sure that they're not going to miss the turn because you're kind of leading them to the restaurant or whatever. You gotta look back and make sure they're still there.
I used to have to do it every time I stepped up from my computer because I needed to know whether Dongchol had actually like moved or not. Like, he often just fell asleep behind the wheels of my computer chair. He liked to play life dangerously. As Hook gonna go wide, as Aiming takes a blooming burst, and really wished he didn't, as Taeyun is just so scary, even though he hasn't gone back yet. Still sitting at about a 6,500 gold lead.
Yeah, I just don't think they really used the buddy system on this this play here on the bottom side. And they did have BDD, who is going to be able to join the fight and set up a really nice angle in that choke point with the engage they set up because they went really deep for it. But Aiming cannot join. He cannot join. And they're still going in. Still going in. Aiming's like, BDD, I hope you got this one, my buddy, because I can't go there. Cousin Paul did not look over their shoulder to see if Aiming was still following. He missed the turn because there was a Yunara with a charged Q shooting him in the face, and he did not have health, and he could not actually get in there.
There was absolutely nothing he could do, and now that lead is even extended further, 820. That is kind of massive here at this stage of the game. We haven't seen Yunaras with leads like this very often, And so maybe I need to take back all of those things that I said about Taeyun and his performance thus far in the LCK Cup.
Maybe
because he's looking a little bit better here today.
Maybe the crowd's got some blindfolds on out there.
That might be the case.
Just trying to get through the early game.
He's evolved to King Boo.
There you go. Give him his crown in this early game. He has the largest lead of any player. This is not the end of the world here for KT. Their mid game is still incredibly strong, and even 700 gold doesn't skip the mid game for Yunara. It's just not a good look that she has a lot more flexibility in this game than you would otherwise like. Cuz is going to try to start these grubs up with some support from his top laner, as Prio.
Oh,
close.
It's going to be perfect that locks it down, so KT will at least be able to get 2 of these. That one gets impatient, and so it might be KT being able to lock down all of them as Sponge. There's the public execution for perfect, and down goes Sponge. That's going to be a free 3 grubs and a kill to boot.
Gotta flash those. If you are CC'd by anything, it doesn't matter who you are, even Aatrox, you're dead. Yeah, on Longship's composition, if there are multiple members there, because everybody, with the exception of the Corki, who does a lot of burst damage, especially when he hits 2 items, has CC. And some of it is targeted. The parts that aren't don't need to be when someone is CC'd by the first part of it.
Yeah. It becomes targeted when they're just standing still the whole time. It becomes a click on it game. And that works pretty comfortably here for the seismic shove out of BDD.
The only impressive thing Perfect could have done there was miss.
Not this time, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye out for whether he figures it out next time around. As we'll have a look at this replay.
Gotta flash
This was actually just Sponge getting caught by a seismic shove. Oh dear, speaking about getting caught, Polu going to wish he had an extra chain in that anchor line there. And is just going to die.
Okay, yeah, just a link too short. A link to the past.
Yeah.
Where he's going to be set back in this game. Already significantly behind in experience. As you noted earlier, he's a full level behind Lens now. And that hurts. That's not great. That is a really tough matchup. This Nautilus pick, again, will be great for all the CC reasons we talked about before, but when just walking forward a level down when Lens has level 6, probably not the play. Obviously, as you mentioned, doesn't have the link in the chain, but I think he's dead either way.
Yeah, he was likely dead, just made it look more sad. As 1,000 gold is the advantage here for the Noodle Bros. But like you were talking about, I mean, the top side is still in a pretty good position. I always get a little bit apprehensive about saying that a Talia composition can come back because she just doesn't do a massive amount of damage, especially with the builds that we have been seeing. But it's BDD. He's pretty good at this champion, as well as Cuz being able to set up some pretty good positions towards that top side. Perfect also with that 1 assist, and a big CS lead on this Ambessa is going to be very, very scary. So all of those things we were talking about, the fact that Taeyun's not going to be able to play team fights very effectively, all remains true. But Taeyun's going to make it towards the mid-game looking very, very powerful.
The cool thing about this for KT is that if Taeyun is the only one with this massive lead, he is just kind of a bag of money to be ulted upon. He's the only one who could carry, right? And then he just gets burst down by all the CC and it doesn't matter. So that is one way to look at this, I suppose. Although in this meta with 80 carries, they get to a certain critical mass where they just kill the ones diving them so quickly. BDD?
Yeah, is going to go point blank into Scout here. Puts him in a rune prison as the seismic shove is going to go wide. Good dodge on that Q, but BDD is still taking a lot of damage here. As Taeyun had rotated up towards this mid lane. We do have a Dragon spawning now. Nongshim looking for their second of the game. Double Dragon would be pretty early here at 11.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a free Dragon here off of that exchange in the mid lane. Amy can shove this 1 extra wave in. Taeyun probably could actually go get some of that, but at the end of the day, free Dragon off of that.
Cloud Soul to start us off? You love to see it.
Does feel nice. 2 Drake lead here for Nongshim, buys them a lot of space. One other thing that I want to mention very briefly, it's been my favorite thing to talk about over these last few weeks, and I know he's not playing today, but the Ghost on Talia, in this case, is not as good as the Rise Ghost, but is very powerful from Talia, can get you in a position to shove.
I got so confused because I'm like, I'm pretty sure Ghost is on the bench, Wolf.
Yeah, no, but we got to talk about the Ghost Summoner. With Pantheon on the other side, they have double global, you have the Weaver's Wall, but if you are trying to side lane as this Talia, or trying to fight an Aatrox.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Perfect is going to take a crab.
If you die, you get caught before an objective fight. Sometimes that's just a free objective for the enemy team because you don't have the ability to TP back in. Even in the early stages of the game when death timers aren't that long, can be a bit of an issue. So something to keep in mind here with this game state. Realm Warp, speaking of.
Yeah. How does KT get out of this? Well, maybe they just definitely don't. That's a decent way to do it, though, as Polo has the depth charge, but still, he is very, very dead. Cuz is making his way over, and BDD is there, but I just don't think they're going to be able to help, as this turret very, very low. Now the Weaver's Wall comes in. There's a Pop Blossom setup. They do find just Cuz. Seismic Shove, though, throws him into the wall, and BDD is throwing so many rocks. Still, he has to flash away, and Cuz is dead. And the Arc of Ruin is almost the ruination of aiming there. But Taeyeon should be able to get a bit of work done towards this turret. And Nongshim still looking fantastic.
Yeah, this might have actually been the moment where this game becomes just, it's insurmountable lead territory. It's only 2,500 goldie, but where it is the issue.
Oh, there's a hook connecting onto Scout as BDD finishes his quest mid-battle. It's a bit cute. But not too much else is going to come of it. Scout still holding onto his flash, feeling very, very nice. 4-1 the kill score, 3,000 gold the lead.
Nearly finished his Seraphs as well. We'll finish it as he walks away. This dive is really clean. Like, they have prio in mid. This is why Rai is greater than Taliyah in a lot of people's minds right now, because he just has wave clear and he gets the faster roam every time. Pantheon has a global as well. Doesn't even need it. In this case, he's already grouped up here on the bottom side, and the bottom duo here really can do nothing to defend. Really nice play here from BDD to try to save this one, but has to ultimately flash. Like, he hits a ton of damage there, but they just don't have the tools to follow up on it. So ends up losing his summoners as well.
And now we've got 2.5 minutes on this Dragon, but 40 seconds on the Rift Herald. Nongshim are parked towards his top side, looking to try and push down yet another turret. And this is kind of a beautiful way to start a snowball with all of these extra plates that are on the map.
Look at the items of the 80 carries right now. An extra Fiend Hunter bolts over the Triforce that aiming holds right now.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see the items on one side of
Yeah.
so at least he does have one item. That's good.
Aiming has control word advantage. Oh no, he has control word as well.
Oh dear. Well, Scout taking a little bit of damage here is Cuz looking for an option here. Cease and desist onto Sponge. Let's see whether they can actually get the kill now, as Lahen's in a little bit of trouble as well. Good sidestep there from Sponge, but he's still going to go down. That's a kill over to aiming. That's good news for KT, as the Rift Herald has now spawned, and there's no jungler on the side of Nongshim.
This is the second example of their ability to pick working out here, and it's at a great timing right before this Herald for them to be able to start this one up. Lahen's does have ultimate here. Scout has his in just a few seconds. I don't know really what angle he's going to be able to find. It's going to have to be Lahen's that sets this up.
Let's see what they can conservative. Do. 8 seconds as there's the hook onto Lahen's, but that is not the target they're looking for. Realm Warp is going to get interrupted as BDD looks for the angle there, but now Cuz needs to get back here and actually smite this Rift Herald. Does actually manage to pick it up, grabs the eye, and out they go. So all in a day's work here for KT, nothing to see.
Really think KT handled that incredibly well, even though Paulo looks like he's made a mistake when he goes in onto the target that's most dangerous to follow up on. He kind of denies Lahen's the ability to impact the play. BD plays off on the side, so he cannot really be burst down, and they can't really dive on him because he's Taliyah, so he's in a really tight spot there where he can both threaten but also is safe. And this all starts off with a single pick, right? Scout ends up taking a bunch of damage. Sponge wants to try to help out, and then ends up getting isolated himself and ulted. And because Sponge is dead, KT can play the Rift Herald so incredibly slow because they know there's no enemy smite on the other side, and they just have to make sure it doesn't lose patience. Then they're able to secure it. So really nicely done here by KT. Still significantly behind in gold, but plays like that are eventually what could get you back in.
And do you want to know the good thing here for KT?
Yes.
The entirety of Nongshim's gold lead is Taeyeon.
Yeah, that's why I say he's a bag of money.
Yeah, he's a bag of money. But the thing is, KT, like we listed before, have a lot of good ways of just killing Taeyeon. And right now, they need to just kill Taeyeon.
I think they're planning on it.
That is the guy that they need to take down.
Teamfight Herald.
Yeah. Let's see whether he can make that one work, as the Pop Blossom not exactly doing too much here, but Lahen's is able to buy a whole lot of space, and there is that soul point. They take down Lahen's. Let's see whether this team fight is actually going to work out here, though, as Kingen goes into that front line. Scout is shoved back. Kingen running amok, but he is still just dead. And it's a double kill now for Aiming, trying to get back into Gold King status. And Shelly is still involved, just wandering around in this team fight.
Crystalline overgrowth on this turret.
Yeah, they're going to do a lot of work here as the seismic shove is a little bit cute, but doesn't do too much of anything at all. Down will go perfect. That's another kill over to Taeyun. It's Cuz with that Bolt Breaker trying to get some work done. And now Taeyun feels like it's his time to shine, but he goes down so low. The flash forward from BDD looks for the kill. He has the barrier though, and Taeyun flashes out of the way. Aiming is crazy, and he's just not crazy enough as Cuz gets a big old shield, but he's still going to go down, and that is the ace. They needed to kill Taeyun, and they did not kill Taeyun.
They also, I think, needed to probably just accept that the turret wasn't going to get charged by Herald, and therefore, when the shove missed from BDD, they should have just walked away and not continued to piecemeal force the fight. That was a disaster. Taeyun had barrier. It didn't have to use it until the last possible second when Aiming was like, I got this, I'm going, and he's like, I still have barrier. What? Yeah, he just kills him. This fight looked a little bit broken up here for KT. They want to try to use this Herald. It's very split, but the Hens gives them this opportunity to collapse onto him. And then Paulo buys time with the Herald here. Perfect. Trying to do what he can here in the back line, and then Kingen just gets turned into a ragdoll in this fight. No one can really follow up. Taeyun is actually not in a position where he can safely get in. So at this point, it's a win for KT despite the Dragon going over. And then here, Herald already cannot charge. You already know this. Shove misses. Just leave. Just leave. It's okay. But instead, we go in again. The turret is still active. It is still aggroed. And Aiming, you know, he cannot actually take out this Yunara despite his best attempts here. And then BDD goes for the flash as well, looking for this play, and then he just presses barrier and says, no, I have items, you don't.
My God, that was ridiculous.
He just has enough mana as well to make that play work.
And I was looking at it, I was like, where was the public execution in that fight? Well, it just wasn't anywhere. Perfect just didn't find an opportunity to use it and then walked right up to the turret and died. And so they weren't able to actually use the Ambassador to try and follow up on any sort of CC. And none of it had already started hitting onto Taeyun either. So KT kind of botching their game plan just a little bit, as Nongshim should be able to use this massive advantage. Not only having a gold lead, item advantages, things like this, but also now they have Soul Point. And so they have just innate control of the map, regardless.
It is going to be really, really tough. And I think in KT's defense, could argue that, okay, hold up, Sponge.
Ooh, just barely.
Almost walks back into that one.
Well, the Hens moving over towards this Baron as it spawns. Another plate going to be taken here by Scout as Kingen and Perfect doing battle. Perfect still doing absolutely fine in this matchup, about 600 gold in the lead.
You can see that little dip there where KT got a lot of control back and then promptly, unfortunately, tossed it right back away. But in KT's defense, I think they think this game state is so desperate that they have to go for the follow-up there, you know, on the turret. They have to. The Herald isn't going to charge, but they have to make something more happen. They need to take that turret out. They need to get enough map control back. This dive composition, the single target pick composition can function properly. They gave up the dragon. They're not happy to just walk away. They felt like they really needed to force that, but the conditions were just not right for it. So it backfires in such a huge way. And now I look at the Rise that is dead even with BDD, but he's about to have his rod completed. They have this beefy Aatrox that is behind on gold, but how much does it really matter when there's a fountain laser shooting? That's any warm bodies that prevent Taeyun from being CC'd are enough.
Yeah, they just need to be enough of a threat to warrant using some of those buttons on. That's all they really need to worry about. Cuz here towards the bottom side of the map.
Shield bow's done. Ward. He has a shield bow, 21.5 minutes here.
Yeah, it's a 3-item Yunara. It's a scary proposition. Aiming still has brown bags, but at least does get the transformation on the Muramana. He's now wandering back to lane. So at least he's now a real champion, right? Like he's got the 2-item spike that we often talk about. As Polo moving over, Scout comes down. Here is the man drop from the Pantheon as depth charge comes on in. Hands with the Pop Blossom, connects it onto everyone as BDD gets a big old shield. Is going to be the first one to go down as Polo taken out next. And Perfect, he's like, yeah, no, I'd prefer not to. Let's just get out of here. And look, he's not going to be allowed to.
Doesn't have flash for a few more seconds. I don't think it saves him anyways. Could just try to buy time. Yeah, you know, we talk about tempo vibes a lot.
Yeah.
We don't talk about tempo as much because it was an old caster buzzword that people really didn't like, so people stopped using it. In this play on the bottom side, KT think they have tempo. They absolutely do not. They're down on numbers. The rotation is way faster for Nongshim. Will have Lehens on the flank. They have a blast cone engage angle for him so he can cut off the retreat. And the TP for Kingen is way faster than Perfect. Look at how long it takes Perfect to actually show up here. Lehens gets the Pop Blossom engaged. KT think they're springing a trap, but in fact they're walking into way more Nongshim than I think they bargained for. And Perfect just shows up to be like, well, I guess I'm dead here. I thought I was going to help. Way too slow.
Yep. And that's what happens when you don't even have to use the Realm Warp in order to get down towards the fight. You can then use it to catch whichever stragglers you feel like. So a 5,000 gold lead and a Cloud Soul has now been picked up as KT just scrambling at this stage of the game. And I think the lead has just become too much here for Nongshim. The fact that Taeyoon is the one that's the benefactor of everything that has happened so far this game. Just a huge disaster here for KT Rolster when we felt like their composition looked pretty good. Polu, though, is just probably dead again. There is a wall that goes up to try and stop them from killing him, but Sponge is going to let him live for now. A benevolent lord is good old Sponge.
Yeah, here in the middle of Super Week, there's no such thing as too easy to fail in terms of execution of composition, but I think this Nautilus pick was really the one that we're going to be talking about the most. It just really gave too much agency in the lane and has not been able to find anything in a post-2 item Yunara world, which was so accelerated. And the Pantheon being able to out-rotate the Vi just means that every time you think you have an angle, every time you think you're maybe going to catch somebody, you're just too slow, you're unable to match Nongshim. Speaking of, Scout just takes out the whole top turret.
Yep.
And now they have eyes for Baron here at 24 minutes with a 3-item Yunara, and there's not a single piece of vision after the Scuttle expires here for KT. I think they're just going to have to watch it burn.
Well, they are trying to move into the area, but Perfect doesn't have teleport. He's walking up as fast as he can. This Baron is just gone.
Sorry, they wish they could watch it burn.
Yeah, KT are a little bit too late as there's the delivery of the Pantheon and the Aatrox into the backline. Kingen buying so much space. He may go down, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough to actually save the fight here for KT. As aiming was frontlining and BDD is now alone trying to deal with this menace of a Nongshim composition. Taeyoon grabs a double. That is an ace in trade for just an Aatrox, and I think it is just time to go to a game 2. KT just rolled over here in game number 1.
Absolutely absurd. The impact this bottom lane had into the Nautilus.
Yeah.
I think we're probably going to see Ghost subbed in game 2, and part of that's Polu's performance, but part of it is just because they just generally do that for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's probably likely and it was probably already planned.
It was probably planned. So that's why I'm trying, guys, don't read into it too much, but I think Polu's Nautilus performance here left a lot to be desired, but it was just a tough matchup. And when you're this far ahead, like KT just came over to try to see that Baron was being taken, but that's way too close when you're this far behind. You know, if you're like putting your toes in the river, you're actually dead. And there's now a 10,000 gold lead. They cannot end the game, but they get the mid inhibitor. They have Cloud Soul.
I mean, Actualizer and Infinity Edge both completed at the same time. So this Corki has 3 items, and Taeyoon has 4 and a BF sword. Okay.
It's not okay. Yeah, it's not okay, actually.
No, not even a little bit. And the fact that Scout now has sort of like the Exodia for Rise at the moment, with that Actualizer now completed, this guy is also just going to be an absolute menace. So even if they do manage to somehow kill Taeyoon, I think Scout's probably still got the carry left in him.
I think the game, this is just game 1 of the series. I think everything we said about this series still holds true, as Kingen's just going to like laugh at this idea.
Yeah, he's going to end the world.
I don't think this tells us anything about how the rest of the series is going to go. It does tell us, however, that with bot Prio and KT opting to some interesting aggressive team fights early, especially that one in the river, you know, this comp isn't going to work. I just think we go back to the drawing board for game number 2. I think KT fans shouldn't think, well, this is going to be a 0-3 for us after this one, but certainly going to be a 0-1.
It's certainly that, as there's a Pop Blossom onto 2. Down goes BDD to start this one off, as I think Lehens, he's a man true to his word. He said that he was going to kill BDD. I think that one counts, even if he didn't get the last hit. As aiming trying to get a couple of kills back here, Cuz does manage to take down the Yunara, but like we said, there's plenty of carry left on this team, and it's a triple here for Scout. 6-1
Look at their score lines.
13. absolutely revolting.
Same
In fact, both of
scoreline.
them- Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
And it's, they finally got Taeyun, but it's Taeyun for Nexus, Atlas.
Yeah, and it's not a trade that you really want to take here as KT. 7,000, by the way, was the Rebel Baron power play there for Nongshim. And KT reeling after that one. That was utter domination.
To him after they pushed Scout away in the mid lane. Those were the two opportunities. BDD was the only one who was able to start anything in this game, and he did the most damage on his team, which is no shock, and was the only one who was able to, in some of those weird situations, make it look like, man, if we weren't 8,000 gold behind, maybe this could be playable. I think the draft was absolutely fine. We were, you know, saying, hey, like this draft looks great, it's super easy to play. But I said right before we got into draft that, hey, in these series we've seen in Super Week so far.
여기 타도 될것 같은데 바로.
얘들아 나 이미 쌀 거니까 계속 준비해줘. 탈리아 쪽으로 볼게. 탈리아 존재 없어.
야 보자 이거 딸 봐올게 이거.
바이 몰다.
볼게. 살려볼게.
탈리아 노플. 노틸
어텔 법. 끝.
바이 미드에서 오고
바이 있다.
안 뺏어 두고.
안 뺏어.
바이 궁 있어. 바이 노플. 바이 노플.
잡아줘. 그렇게 높을.
나 코르키 스타트되고.
그렇게 높을.
나이스.
미드 가자. 미드 라인.